Makes you wanna go. Makes you wanna go. Na 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 na. Makes you wanna go.
Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, Mickey G. How are you today?
Hello, Golden Bronze. I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Absolutely great. Thank you
Great.
for taking time out today. I appreciate you very much for that.
Sure. It's my pleasure.
Everybody, thank you for joining us today. And excuse me for laughing because I cut my co-host off. So I'm just like hyped up, and I'm sorry, Mickey G.
Okay.
She's
It's
like,
all
I'm
right.
used to it.
Yeah, I know you, so it's good. It's how we roll.
Yeah, that's how we roll. That song, okay, I can't sing. But anyway, we want to thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you tuning in as we realize that there's many other things that you could be doing today. But we appreciate you taking your time out to come with us. We have a fabulous, as I always say, which is fantastic and fabulous guest with us today. The name of our show is My Alien Nation, featuring Mr. James Morrell, and we want to welcome him to the stage. Thank you, James, for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today, sir?
I'm great. I'm ready to do this. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's chat about it. So we'll just delve right in. I
Okay.
tell you what, I was reading your book last night, and I found it to be very interesting. Um, I said in the preface that will go out to everybody, which is Arnett Cotton's words, that whether you're reading in the bed or curled up in your favorite chair or couched in front of the fireplace, you will find yourself crying out loud, nodding your head, shouting amen, smiling within, or calling up a friend to read a particular passage. Strap yourselves in, everybody, as we travel with us through My Alien Nation, featuring Mr. James Morrell. So, James, that's exactly what happened last night when I was reading this book. I was crying. I was seeing myself in some of it, which I'm sure most people will. Um, I was praising God for revelations and affirmations. And then I felt sad at times. So, was that the intent when you wrote this book, for it to affect people that way?
Absolutely. It's a real, true journey through my life and the life of a few people that I know and I've heard of. My experiences with working with people, my experiences with relationships, and all of that. So yeah, uh, I, I I knew from the reaction of my publisher that yeah, she told me that this would affect a lot of people that way.
So, tell me, James, let's start with, we cannot possibly go over everyone. And I'm a poet at heart. I have two unpublished books of poetry, which I think I've already told you. But a lot of my books of poetry came from uh, experiences I personally was having. Nothing that I projected other people were having, but myself and my feelings and things like that. Is that kind of the same situation with your book?
Absolutely. My book has been at a drug and alcohol treatment center where people were going through the most severe pain, and not necessarily what we've gone or you've gone through, or someone else, but these particular people were going through things, and they said it helped them through a lot of things. And to my surprise, because that's not my background, but yeah, I know that it would bring out a lot of emotion in people, and that's kind of my goal. My goal with the book is. I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to when people say, I never thought of about it like that before. I had an aha moment, and so that's the kind of thing that makes me proud.
So, was the aha moment? I think my question was, is this book about the people in the treatment center? Is it about your own experiences, or is it just, or that uh, is it autobiography, or is it if it's fiction? That's what the word I'm looking for, based
No,
on just Okay.
No, it's true and factual. Things that I went through. It's a journey through my life. Uh, Most of it is my life, but then a few things are and but I do express that. You shouldn't be no question as to who I'm referring to in the book because there's a preface or a introduction to every poem. It's a book of
Yeah.
poetry, revelations, and affirmations. So yeah, it's mostly about my life, but
Okay. Because some of the introductions, it seemed like it was just in general, like other people might be experiencing this. So I wrote this
yeah,
poem. And so that's what I was getting at. So let's start with some, it's about mostly your life.
yes.
Poetry, poem number 4. Tell us about life, the poem,
Oh,
life,
life.
the
Yeah,
poem.
life was
Yeah.
written when I worked with a group of kids. I think at that time, and maybe I need to go look at it myself. But life was is just a general synopsis of what people go through um, in life. You know, just kind of. I probably need to look at it myself. But life was just about. Oh, so now that I took a quick glance at it,
Mhm.
life was about could almost sum up the essence of the book because it talks about people who things aren't easy for them. I know that in the people tend to want to give people a uh, when things become difficult for them. Say like if somebody had, I'm struggling to explain something really simple about this particular poem, but when somebody goes through something, and it's really simple, and people may tend to want to complicate it because it makes them uncomfortable. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so the first line says, "For everyone else out there, for everyone else with real problems that never seem to get corrected." And so some people have problems that they may have created themselves, but these people, there's a group of people that life just seems to keep happening to that, you know, they just have a different set of circumstances sometimes.
Mhm. Okay, James, before we go further, I want Mickey G to, I forgot to have her do what she normally does, and she knows what that is. And then we'll get
Yes.
back to this interview. So just bear with us for a moment. It's a requirement.
Yes. Thank you, Golden Bronze. I want to let everyone know that you can hear our show on Village Global Network on Mondays every other week at 10 a.m., powered by Zeno FM, with additional monitoring through online radio box on the following stations: Culture Shock Radio, Canada; Radio Fercio, Mexico; Rock Box FM, USA; and Wapter Music FM, Guadalupe.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I'm sorry, Mickey G.
That's okay. That's all right. I will
All
get it
right.
in eventually. Go ahead.
No, yeah. So I think we're so in sync now. I can just kind of look at you and you look at me and it's like, oops. But we're authentic, right? So that's
Yes,
what
we
it's
are.
all about.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so James, what
Yes.
inspired you? And Mickey G, forgive me, but I just have a lot of questions after I read the book, and I know you're so familiar with that. You can get yours in a minute. But I wanted to know what inspired. You probably know, Mickey, but what inspired you to write this book, or a poetry and
Well,
affirmations and
well,
revelations?
I'm so glad to be talking about this because I really want to express the fact that I've gone through a lot of things. I've gone through so much in my life. I feel like I've lived 5 or 6 different lifetimes, and it helped me to write to go through those things by writing. So I would write over the years, and I don't know if you notice in the book, a lot of them have dates. A lot of the poems have dates
Mhm,
as to when I wrote it. And
mhm.
so some of the dates are a little shocking because they're not like current, but they're
Right.
still things that help me. So when I would write and I knew I would write just getting my feelings out and putting it down on paper and writing it in a way that felt good to me. And then I was always surprised when people would I would read it to someone and they could
Mhm,
connect. So a lot of times my book helps other people, but my book helps me a lot. So when
mhm.
I'm down, I'm going through something, I pick up my own book and I'm in the corner, amen, and crying and everything. It makes me feel good to read my own stuff. So it was therapy for me.
Kind of like a journal.
Yes, yes. It's a journal, but it's a journey through my life. I don't know if you notice on some of a lot of actually all the poems. There's a little guide taking a step on
Hmm.
each of them because
I
it's a
noticed.
journey.
Yeah. Should we show it? This is the book.
Hmm. We'll show it again at the
Yeah.
end. Do you have any
Okay.
questions, Mickey?
Well, I do, but I'm going to hold them because let's go down this track. Well, let me just say this. Something I noticed that you have prefaces on each one of your poems, which
Yes.
explains each poem. And I think that's very unique. Was that by design or was that kind of from your journaling that you want to explain each poem? I've never seen that in a poetry book.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen it either. I did that because I want my book to be relevant to everybody. I don't want somebody to say, "Well, I don't really like poetry because I don't get it." Well, I want you to get it, And it's
Hmm.
not important to me to be so prolific that I am not making sense to people. So there's an introduction to every poem. Sometimes people have told me they read the introduction, they didn't need the poem once they got through the introduction because what I wrote made sense to them and resonated with them. So I did it on purpose. Yeah, I absolutely did do it on purpose. And sometimes it was because it's almost like you have this thought and it's melodic, so it's
Right.
poetry. But then you have the same thought is not melodic, and so that's the introduction, I
I
believe.
think, and I think, thank you for answering that because I think it makes it more attainable to people who maybe don't understand poetry or they hear the sing song part of the rhyming and all that, but it doesn't resonate with them on a human basis. And so I
Yeah,
think the fact that you did that and explained it makes it more palatable for all kinds of viewers and
yeah.
readers.
And
I've
I'll
had
tell
people. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, I'll tell you nowadays, because rap is poetry
Mhm.
and people are into going to poetry clubs, that is probably more relevant today than when you really wrote it back in 1999 or some of the dates that I saw.
Yeah,
Uh, that rap culture's been around, I don't know how many, a couple of decades now. So people, and rap is poetry put to music. So you could probably even do that. I mean, if you ever go to poetry, um, clubs or outlets, they put their words to music, but
yeah,
I think it's more impactful now maybe than when you first wrote the book. But
yes.
the preface does help explain it a lot. And I paused to give Mickey time because I have so many questions. I don't want to just seem like I'm hogging it, but we're going to go, what we're going to do here is back want me her, and that way we'll both get our questions in. Okay,
Okay.
so okay, so I read the entire book, believe it or not, because I like poetry myself,
Mhm.
and it just kind of, to my surprise, I must admit, drew me in. I had lots of questions. So let's get to shut up, because I know I felt like telling people that a whole lot of time. Just shut up. Tell me where that came from.
I am so tickled because I was so curious about which ones you were going to ask me about.
It's
Well,
so many, but
yeah.
I got them. I
So
got them tagged here. But go ahead.
yeah, and trust me, when my mother read "Shut Up," she was like, "Oh my God, can you use another word besides the words you use?" I said, "No, Mom." I said, "This was just a moment. It was a moment where I was completely fed up. I had had enough, and there were no more kind words. There were no more patience. There was no more patience in me. There was no more, well, maybe, maybe, maybe. No, this is the day where I need you to shut up." And so I said in the most graceful way I could in a moment where I was probably really angry. And this was written uh, during my marriage. I was in a marriage that did not last, and this was one of the days where I'd had enough. So
Yeah.
it was to her, and I wanted her to shut up.
Yeah, I figured as much because I said, I know I felt that way. Would you just shut up? But I do a lot of talking in my head, and a lot of what I'm thinking doesn't come out of my mouth, thank God, because, I've
But I
learned
think
it's best.
maybe you got it because of the introduction. The introduction actually, as detailed as it was, it softened the blow for what you're about to
Yes.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we going to have any of these read?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because of us having to limit.
Okay.
But
All right.
you have the floor. So if you're wanting to read it, something you can do that on your,
Okay.
you know,
I
Okay.
can read. I don't mind if you guys
you
read
have
it.
the floor. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So on the shut up, would you mind just reading the preface so we kind of know what we're talking about when we're talking about this particular poem? You don't have to read
Right.
the poem because people would buy the book and they'll see what the poem
Right.
is.
Okay.
That's what I.
Okay. I'll
Yes.
read. You want some of the preface or the whole thing?
Just give us the gist of it. Read as much as you like.
All right. All right. Let me tell you, one of the most satisfying things you'll ever do is turn the page of a book that you wrote.
I
On
know.
Yeah.
it's page 9. That is the
Yeah.
most satisfying thing.
Yeah.
All right. So it says, there comes a time in a man's life when he, Christian or not, sweet or not, careful or not, has to be as assertive as he knows how. Then there's that other time when he just needs you to shut up. There are no sweet ways of saying it, no kind, thoughtful, image protecting, feelings protecting ways to say it. Just shut up. I've been accused of being mean. Yeah, I know. You, James, yes, me. But I'm not exempt from having enough of those people who feel it's all right to abuse you, especially if you're a nice guy who has a tendency to meet women who feel as if you are supposed to take all of the rage and misunderstandings, all of the rest of the men in their life inflicted upon her without regard to its impact. Consequently, she has absolutely no respect for its potential harm in her life. In your life. I'm sorry, in your life. I know Christian men who secretly call their wives the B word, and it says the word here, and say they want her to shut the F up. The rage here in relationships is easily transferred. There is no other point. So where do we begin to heal? Who takes the first step? Who takes the blame? Should someone take the blame? Is this even about blame? So I'll just stop there. But that's part of the introduction for that.
Okay. Thank you for that. So, James, there was one that I can't find right now,
What's the
but it
name of it?
was. I can tell you. I don't know. I can tell you what it was
Okay.
about.
All
Going
right.
to jail. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah, yeah.
which poem was it?
That was near the back. It was called The Inmate.
Okay, let's not go there yet.
Okay.
Let's go to the thorns. Thorns.
Oh, Thorns. Okay.
Yeah.
Thorns.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Thorns is about a particular generation. Uh, as generations change and as we grow and we get more knowledge, we are, thankfully, we're more knowledgeable about how to treat each other. But there's a certain generation that had to look decent, had to look good, had to look as a whole family, no matter what was happening in the house. When they came out of the house, they had to look like everything was all right. So, what happened in the house didn't really matter. In the poem, I say that if a person, they look like a rose to everybody, but their children are the thorns. This person looks good to everybody and they show up and everybody's the feel like they go to church and everybody's dressed nice, or if they go even to wherever they go and they dress nice, you never know what's happening at home. So
Wow.
this is about thorns. The thorns are the children in the family to someone who does not see the pain they're inflicting on their children.
My goodness.
Is that personal?
A little bit, but it's not. It's not. This is a little personal, but this is also my observation of other people in their lives. This is also an observation of grandparents and their reaction, not just parents. This is a reaction to. I think I spoke for myself, and I spoke for a lot of people that I knew as I wrote the poem, because I usually write the poem first, and then the introduction. As I wrote the poem, I thought about people that I grew up with and the harsh, horrible things that they have endured, unnecessary things that they've endured. But, for Black people, that was our survival. We grew up, everybody got beat.
That's
We,
not true. Don't
no, no,
don't.
no, no,
Yeah.
what I mean by everybody, but I'm just saying that was a mindset that we thought everybody got beat if we got beat. If we got beat, we thought they did. And so there was a mindset among our people. Now, it wasn't all of us. It wasn't all of us, but there was a lot of us that grew up with that mindset. And so, and then there's also the statement. I'll say this, and I'll let you go on. That what goes on in this house stays in this house. So a lot of that means that nobody was going to get therapy. Nobody was going to get help, and the abuse continued as long as we look good, like a rose when we leave here.
So see, that was my purpose for when we started this interview, to say whether it was specific to your life or a generalization, because I don't want people to buy the book and think, oh my God, he was so abused. You know what I'm saying? Or I wanted to clarify that it was not all personal, but your observation from life and church and talking to friends and what you learned by growing up. Because when you read this book, you'll think it's all you.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, a lot of it is me. I shared with my thoughts with a lot of other people's situations, but I can't say this isn't me.
Well, that's why I asked the question. Yeah, because I just wanted the viewers to understand. It's not a general. It's not the whole book. It's not a generalization of your life story. Some of it is, not all of it. It's not you. And I think that disclaimer needs to go out there. It's very intriguing and interesting, but one might come to that conclusion that it was just all about you. So that was the reason why I just went in to write it. That was one of my questions. And was
can I say that the title of the book, My Alien Nation, was written? It was that title because I personally felt like an alien my whole life, because I was just different. I was smarter. I thought about things, I should say. I went through a lot growing up. I never fit in with people my age. So I always had friends older than me. Just odd, different. I was raised different than a lot of people. In some ways, sheltered. Always at church, and so
me too.
But for a boy, that created a situation because I was never cool. I never, was never necessarily one of the guys. I had my group of friends, but I was not necessarily one of the guys. So, it created a space for me to not just feel alienated, but I became alienated because I had opinions and thoughts and ideas that didn't fit in with the norm. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing. Alienated just because I knew some things.
So in the forward, it said, I heard you say I'm smarter. In the forward, it said you were learning disabled. So,
Exactly.
so it wasn't that you were smarter, but you learned things differently. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was smarter. But here's the thing. I was learning disabled because of trauma. I was learning disabled because no one caught it. I was learning disabled because in those.
You mean like in school?
Yeah, I was traumatized in school. I would tell you, I had a teacher in the third grade and the fourth grade. I was bused across town. We lived in a black area. I was bused to the white area, and so I had a teacher who was a white older woman who used to slap me to the floor when I got a problem wrong in the class in front of the whole.
And did you ever tell your parents?
I never told my parents till I was 30.
Why, James?
Well,
that's a whole nother story. Don't worry about it. I don't want to.
It's fine. No, I don't mind.
Okay.
And in those days, I thought everybody was okay with everything. And so for 2 years, she did this to me for 2 years. By fifth grade, I was learning disabled. So I didn't tell
down. And is that because you shut down, but not because
oh my God,
you had the inability to? So when you say, did they label you learning disabled? Because that means you're not able to learn like the average person. But in order to be smart, you have to be able to learn things.
Yeah. And I was learning disabled from the 5th grade to the 11th grade. But it wasn't disabled on everything, just in certain subjects.
In school. I want to specify it was just at school. Okay.
Right. Just at school. And it was
teacher ain't no time. No, let me just leave that alone. Because if Lord Jesus. Okay, let's move on. Nikki, you got the floor.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to jump in on this learning disabled classification that was classified by the school,
Right.
right? And so, when did you realize that is not really you? That was a label. That you were actually quite brilliant.
Oh
Did
man,
you come to that conclusion, and when did you come to it, and how did you come to it?
age 18 is when it
Okay.
started. Real quick, because I know we want to go through the book, but age 18, I entered an essay contest at my church. And I had just turned 18, so I couldn't enter with the kids. I had to enter with the adults and the ministers and the deacons and all these important people. And a whole lot of people entered this contest. And I entered my essay and took first place. The next year, I entered my essay. Now, when I won at 18, I cried like a baby because I was so shocked because of I'm supposed to be learning disabled, and I won over all these people. 19, I entered the contest again and won. And in the age 20, because my life was going to go down that learning disabled, you won't be worth anything direction. It was going to go there, absolutely. So when I entered at 20, I was not surprised, and I was not emotional. I was not happy. I was angry, because then I realized that people had lied to me. It took all those years for me to realize that people had lied to me. I was not learning disabled, that I was a threat to the system that wanted to keep me in that mindset.
And that's at school. I keep stating that because you did grow up in the South.
Well, it was at school, but it was other places too, because my personality was, was of that. Imagine 2 years of taking that, your personality changes, who you are, and your
You
work.
become inhibited, and is that what you
Yeah,
mean? Like, yeah.
you become
So,
inhibited, you become a target, you become bullied, and you know, I kind of went into myself.
okay. So, James, you're brilliant. Have you ever done an IQ test to be classified as brilliant?
No, I've never done one.
Is that just semantics, saying you're smart or whatever? Because brilliant is even smarter than smart.
That was me saying that, though.
Oh, okay.
based on his writings and these things, a learning disabled person who cannot learn, who cannot think clearly,
He was
would not put this
misdiagnosed at
together.
school.
Right.
Is what he's
Misdiagnosed.
saying. Okay.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
And you
and in those
succumbed to
days,
that, thinking
yeah,
that. So you succumbed to it, thinking that you were when you really
yeah,
weren't. Okay.
100%,
And
100%.
because of that, you were bullied and
Yeah,
mistreated and stuff like that, because you were then stigmatized and categorized
right, right.
as something that you really aren't. Is that what we're
Imagine, yeah, because your whole life you're hanging with people, but you got to go to the LD classes. You
Yeah.
got to go to the learning disabled classes, and that up until the 11th grade, yeah, it makes you feel like, well, you're not worthy. It makes you feel like, well, I'm not even going to try to do that because, I'm the learning disabled kid. So as cool as you want to be, you can't be cool. You got to go to the learning disabled classes.
So is that like, I can't remember having those when I was in school, but is that just for like, you take the same courses but at a slower pace or something?
Yeah, it's like if you're in ninth grade, you're taking a sixth grade course.
Are
If
you
you're in
serious?
Oh yeah. And for me, it was only in certain subjects. What I didn't have a problem in was reading. What I didn't have a problem in
Writing.
was language arts and writing. It was really math and things like that.
Well, if that's the case, I was learning disabled, because I'm telling you, I had to have a tutor all the way through.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I
Yeah.
think mine is because of trauma. Because I think when I didn't realize it at the time, but I think those were the moments where I got slapped. Was doing math,
I'm
and it
sorry
never.
that happened to you.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Oh my God. I'd be in jail. But let's move on. I keep saying that because I can't imagine nobody slapping my kid like that. But anyway, I digress. I think it's Nikki's. No, whose turn? I lost track.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and ask the question because there was a poem that I saw.
Hmm.
I kind of want to go back though to Thorns.
Yeah.
And I know that you grew up in a church,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of times in the church, everyone tries to make everything look okay.
Right.
You never know what people are going through behind the scenes, and we want to look like roses, but there's really a lot of thorns in that. Not
Yeah.
only culturally in the Black community, but also in the church. You see
Yeah.
a lot of times when people try to present well, but a lot
Yeah.
of things are going on behind the scenes, and the children are the thorns.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was something that I thought about with regard to that poem.
You
Is
know,
that kind of what you saw?
yeah, I'd like to read a couple lines from it if that's okay, just to kind of give people an idea of what I mean.
Okay.
The poem starts out like this. I love you, but I've taken offense. No, you can't go through another day blameless. It doesn't make any sense. I'm looking through the rose bushes for what has become my discarded heart. I'm looking for past your well wishes and past the pretty part. A winter window exposes the coldness that ignites the apathy in your inner being. Your denial has been my coffin. You never wanted to spend any time with me, seeing what has thwarted me often. So, in that, I was saying
That's
that
beautiful.
yeah,
Mhm.
because if you think about it, um, that's add that with me in my learning disability. Something is thwarting me. Something is retarding me. Something
Right.
is in my way. Something I'm saying something is wrong. I'm not okay. Not listening at all because
Right.
we're focused on the pretty part. We're focused on the rose, and it's kind of like, oh, you got issues. I don't want to hear that. We're trying to look good. We're trying to
Right.
present to people, and so as a parent, that thing that's getting me down, that's the parent's job is to see what's getting me. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, the one that I was actually going to ask you about, I'm glad. I thank you for answering that question. What stood out to me was this one called "Every Day," and
Yeah.
because we advocate against domestic violence
Yes.
against women, we know that men also go through it.
Yes.
And in reading "Every Day," reading the preface, this looks like this is an introduction to your journey of
Yes.
domestic violence against you.
Yeah.
Am I
It
correct
is.
about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
was in marriage in the 90s where from the moment we got married until it ended in 5 years later, I was physically abused. I was physically abused by my wife. Now, a lot of guys will listen to that and immediately start laughing because they're like, "How are you physically abused by a woman? You know, how are you gonna let a woman? How are you gonna?" And that's real easy for a person to do.
Right.
But as a man, we know we're men and we know we can take a whole lot of things, including our wives physically uh, putting their hands on us, throwing things, choking us, pulling the knife on you, cussing you out. Will take a lot because we think that's our manhood, and well, that's not manhood. And so my wife, I'm 6'1". My wife was 5'1", and I could have ended it easily. The way that I believe at the time that she wanted me to end it was to hit her. That was the number one goal. Hit me so this will make sense to me, and I wouldn't do it. I could have ended it by hitting her, but I never hit a woman. Will never hit a woman, and I thought I could take it, and so my issue was I married somebody who was just really, 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 really wounded, and there was nothing that I could do, and I
Really
made
what, James? I didn't really what?
really wounded,
Oh,
really wounded
yes.
from her past. It had
Mhm.
nothing to do with me, but uh, so that's something that I learned over the years. Yeah, there was nothing that I could have done to help her to save that situation, but I took it because yeah. So every day, I was actually about um, every day. You know, I'm looking at myself and my manhood is suffering. It's in the background. I said I got my backbone in the background because I have allowed this and this and this and this. And at some point, I had to wake up one day and say, well, no, this can't happen every day.
Right. 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 And I imagine that as a man, um, dealing with someone who is harming you or coming at you, men are taught not to hit women, and women are taught if you hit me, I'm calling the police.
Right.
So they're not going to expect a man to hit them back. So they do all the things,
Hmm.
and you have to suppress it because you're a man. You could hurt her, and the law is kind of slanted in that way.
Yeah.
But so men sometimes take it because they know they can hurt the woman, and two, they're going straight to jail.
Right.
But the
It
woman
works
doesn't.
both ways now, though. They have
Yeah,
changed the laws. But go ahead,
that's
we
true.
got a minute.
That's true. That's true. But as a generality, let's
Mhm.
just say
Yeah.
that's kind of how men get attacked. Not that they can't fight back, but why would they hit a woman? They've been taught not to do that, and so it might make the man look weak to other men. But no, I think that's a lot of strength
I do
because that's a
too.
lot of self control that you
I
have
do
to
too.
deal with that, and eventually divorce and
That
left
makes
the
you look like a
relationship.
man.
Right, right.
Well,
It shows your
I
yes,
had a great example. My dad is the greatest man I ever known. And
yes.
so I admire him, I respect him, and I watched him, my mama wasn't always easy to talk to.
Mhm.
He was not always easy. So my dad took a whole lot because my mama had a mouth. And she would go on and on and on, and he let her talk for a good while. Then he'd tell her that's enough. And then when
I
that
think
was
you and I spoke about it because I told you I had the same kind of mother who
right,
was the dominant personality.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
think my father had to be the quietest man on earth, and he probably does a lot of what I do. And that's talk in my head. It
yeah,
doesn't come out my mouth.
yeah, yeah. And it was okay because it worked for their relationship. But I didn't know I was gonna get somebody that was, I had a whole different kind of wife. But when you can't react one too much left and too much right, too much forward, too much back. So you're stuck in the middle. You can't hit her. You can't say the wrong thing. You can't cuss her out. You can't call her out of her name. You know what I mean? And you have to take a lot. And then what people don't know, and probably people that have been abused know this. Now, first of all, abuse is not being abused doesn't make you a weak person. I know that for sure.
Right.
If you're a
Right,
man or
It
woman,
makes you stronger.
yeah, you are strong because you're taking it.
right,
You're strong because
And you get through it, it makes you strong too.
that's
right,
right. But
right.
here's the thing that I don't know if you all can agree. In the beginning, the love making was on 10 because we were forgiving and we were coming back, and it was like amazing because that was always okay. Well, you can do this.
I'd be like, nope.
And so-
No. Go ahead. I love this show.
anyway, ours was, but it was short lived. It was short lived
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you realize that like we doing this just so you can flip out tomorrow.
yeah. Right, right.
About tomorrow. And so it had to be a point where, as a man, I had to say, nah, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say, hell to the no.
Yeah.
Okay, we on adult radio, so that's gonna fly. That's gonna
Oh
fly.
my
Okay.
God.
I wanted to ask you about you took my choice away.
Yes.
That broke my heart. I want you to elaborate on that and clear
Yeah.
up what
Okay.
that meant.
Okay. I figured we were going to go there on this one. That's okay. But I wrote about it because I think it's important. It was my experience. That is my personal experience that I did. I went through molestation when I was a child, and
I'm sorry that happened to you too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
I'm
severe.
sorry about that.
It was horrible. And the thing about it is a lot of men go through it, and a lot of men don't say anything. And so the people that get affected the most by a man not saying anything or a man not covering himself, when he gets older, the child that's in him, the people that get affected the most are the women in their lives, and then in turn the children. But yeah, I went through it. And because I went through it, that was part of. So remember when I said I was abused by a teacher, 3rd and 4th grade. The molestation happened when I was 10. So
At
10th
school,
grade-
James?
no, it was
Okay.
It was a family member. But when I was 10 years old. So I'm going 8, 9, abused by a teacher, 10th grade, this happened.
Yeah.
I'm not 10th grade, 10 years old, 5th
Mhm.
grade. And so when it was very difficult talking to girls because I thought that I felt like the dirtiest person ever, growing up. So even though we were going to church, I had a wonderful family, all of these things but I felt like these girls wouldn't want to talk to me. They knew what I did. They knew what was it. And I say what I did because I took
Yeah, I
it,
was like, you didn't do it. I'm listening to you. Yeah.
but that's how I took it at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and so I contemplate on giving details but the details matter.
You don't have to on here.
Okay, all right. But I just thought it was, uh, I've always been uh, attracted to a certain type of girl, but I'm it's easy for me to shy away, and you will never know, you never see anything because I grew up learning how to do that. So when you become abused, you learn these I don't know want to say tactics that you learn these ways to survive, you know,
Right.
because it's a secret I had to keep.
Right.
Kept it a secret. And think about it, through everything that you go through. You're in church, you're in school, you're around family, you're around friends, and I got a secret.
Right.
Was that from a secret from your family or from the rest of the world?
Secret from everybody.
Because it was a family member, you just kept
Right.
it quiet.
Right.
That's what a lot of people did. You do it because you didn't think they would believe you? Like some little girls never tell when
Yeah.
it happens to them because they think mommy won't believe me, daddy won't believe me, or
Yeah.
whatever.
It was that, but that wasn't the first thing. It was because of the threat.
Somebody made a threat if you tell.
Yeah, it was a very serious thing, and I believed them. And I believed them on this threat, and so it paralyzed me. It paralyzed me for a long time because I thought if I said anything, that it would kill my mother. So I grew up with a mother who was always sickly and very, very sickly. And I've seen, I all grew up as a kid, always, always thinking that she was going to die.
Okay, I have one other.
Go ahead, go
Talk about the inmate real
Okay.
quick.
The inmate was, I went to jail to my good little boy, good church little boy surprise that I ended up going to jail and I was sentenced to 6 months in the county jail with failure to pay child support. Now, having said that, I have to say, I only served 11 days because they proved that I should not have been in jail, that I had proof as to why I got behind. But
Good.
nobody wanted to see that because I had a public defender and a lot of stuff I didn't know.
Did you
So,
endure any trauma in jail?
11 days? Let me tell
What I'm saying is you
you.
managed to come out unscathed.
Barely. Yeah, because let me tell you, 11 days I was offered everything from drugs to
I saw
sex.
that.
Yeah, from liquor made in the toilet, and just I was almost in a fight, almost in a riot, and then I can see easily how somebody can get extra time really quickly. But yeah,
Okay, thank God nothing happened to you bad in there. And James, I want to thank you for taking the time out to join us on Gab with Golden Bronze and my co-host Nikki G. I wanted to show everybody that this book is called My Alien Nation. James, is it still available? And tell everybody where they can find it to purchase it.
It's available on Amazon. It's been out for a little while, so that's the only place I can find it right now. You can find it right now, but I do plan to, at some point, I may republish it because I do have another book coming out soon.
And do you want to say anything else about yourself? I mean, we always give, we're going to start, we always give our guests opportunity to promote themselves. So whatever it is that you want to say about yourself to promote yourself, you have 1 minute to do it.
Okay. Well, this book comes with, it will eventually come with a CD that goes with it because I do sing and write songs. Also, there's lots of plans for other things. If you see where my name is, it says Free Soul LLC. So I have some big plans for some other things. And I do want to take this time to thank you both for having me on. I really enjoyed talking about this thing. And as much as I can enlighten people and help people, a lot of us have our own alien nations. I say nation separately from alien because there's a nation of us. There's a nation of us aliens, but we just have to find each other. And we're not as unusual and different and alienated as we think, but we are like a family.
Okay, so it's on Amazon, and Mickey G has some wrap-up comments, and then I do. So Again,
Okay.
thank you, James, for joining us. I do appreciate it. And maybe we'll do a part two. This will air on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. Mickey G will tell you where else people can hear it. And we got some new exciting stuff in the works that we can't talk about. It will be there too. So
We will too. Okay, so let me first remind you of where you can hear us on Village Global Network on Mondays every other week at 10 a.m., powered by Zeno FM with additional monitoring through online radio box on the following stations: Culture Shock Radio, Canada, Radio Fercio, Mexico, Rockbox FM, USA, and Wapter Music, Guadalupe. You can also find this podcast on YouTube. You can find it on Gab. You can find it on Golden Bronze on Facebook, Instagram, X, and I believe Golden Bronze on Facebook.
mhm.
And also, we are sponsors of Golden Swan Cadre, and we appreciate any donations from $1 on up. Everything is welcome. And you can donate at $ Golden Swan Cadre on Cash App, Chime, and PayPal. Golden
Thank you
Bronze?
so much, Mickey G.
You're
So
welcome.
everybody, please support Gab with Golden Bronze as we support Golden Swan Cadre.
Yes.
And that is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, which I am the CEO and founder of. Mickey G is a member of that. And we advocate against domestic violence towards women. Also, that we advocate for women's mental health issues, because a lot of that plays into being a victim, survivor of domestic violence. And we advocate against self-care, mindfulness, and just taking care of ourselves. So please, $1, as she said, to whatever much, we do appreciate it, because we do use it to help women as they venture off into their single family journeys, furnish their homes and apartments, and we donate to domestic violence centers. We help entities and we help individuals, and we are self-funded right now. A lot of that comes out of our own pockets, but we are trying to get sponsorships and donations so we can broaden what we do for victims of domestic violence. So we do thank you once again for joining us. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, James.
Bye.
Thank you, Mickey G.
Bye.